When I was 24 years old, I moved from a small town in Ohio to Dallas, Texas for a new job. I didn't know anyone in the city, and my budget was tight. After spending days searching for a place to stay, I finally found a room for rent in a quiet neighborhood. The house belonged to a woman named Sarah Mitchell. Sarah was 36 years old and lived alone in a beautiful two-story home. The first time I met her, I was surprised by how young she looked. She was confident, friendly, and carried herself like someone who had everything figured out. "You're here about the room?" she asked. "Yeah," I replied nervously.
She showed me around the house, explained the rules, and offered me the room immediately. A few days later, I moved in. At first, everything seemed normal. I went to work during the day and returned home at night. Sarah was always polite, but I noticed something strange. Every evening, she sat alone on the back porch, staring at the sunset. Sometimes she would sit there for hours. One night, I finally asked her, "Do you ever get lonely living here by yourself?" For a moment, she didn't answer. Then she smiled sadly. "You have no idea." That was the first time she opened up to me. She told me that her husband had left 3 years earlier. Their marriage had fallen apart, and eventually he moved across the country. Their daughter was attending college in California, which meant Sarah spent most of her days completely alone. The big house that once felt full of life now felt empty. After that conversation, we started talking more often. Sometimes we'd have coffee together, other times we'd watch movies in the living room.
Months passed, and our friendship grew stronger. One Friday evening, I came home and noticed Sarah sitting on the porch with tears in her eyes. I had never seen her cry before. "What happened?" I asked. She handed me her phone. It was a message from her daughter. Her daughter had been involved in a minor car accident. Thankfully, she wasn't seriously injured, but the news had terrified Sarah. For the next few hours, I sat with her and tried to calm her down. Before going to bed, she said something I never forgot. "Thank you for being here. Most people disappear when things get difficult." I didn't think much of it at the time, but looking back, one night, Sarah noticed how stressed I looked. "You haven't smiled in weeks," she said. I finally told her everything. The financial problems, the family pressure, the fear of failing the people I loved. When I finished talking, Sarah was silent. Then she said something unexpected. "You've spent months helping me through my worst days. Let me help you now." The next morning, she connected me with a friend who owned a successful business. A few weeks later, I landed a better paying position. For the first time in months, I could breathe again. Things improved quickly. My family situation stabilized, my sister started college, and I finally felt hopeful about the future. But there was still one thing I couldn't ignore. My feelings for Sarah were changing. She wasn't just my landlady anymore. She was my closest friend, the person I trusted most, the person I wanted to tell everything to. I tried to ignore those feelings. After all, she was older than me. What would people think? What if I ruined our friendship? So I kept quiet. Until one evening. It was a rainy Saturday night. The power went out across the neighborhood. We sat in the living room, surrounded by candles. The house was completely silent. After a long pause, Sarah looked at me. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Have you ever wondered why I've never asked you to move out?" I laughed. "Because I pay rent on time?" She smiled. "No." Then her expression became serious. "Because this house stopped feeling empty when you moved in." That conversation lasted until almost sunrise. For the first time, we spoke honestly about everything. Our fears, our dreams, our feelings. Nothing happened overnight. We didn't rush into anything. Instead, we spent the next year building a stronger relationship. Eventually, Sarah's daughter met me and gave her approval. My family welcomed Sarah with open arms. And 2 years after I rented that small room, we got married. Sometimes people ask me how we met. They expect some exciting story. But the truth is much simpler. I rented a room from a lonely woman. She became my friend, then my greatest supporter, and eventually, the love of my life. Because sometimes The person who changes your future is already standing right in front of you. You just don't realize it yet.